All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and good morning, and thank you for joining us today. This is our second webinar in our 2018 Crisis Coach webinar series, underwritten by the wonderful folks at the University of Alabama, and we'll talk a little bit about them in just a moment. Today we're going to talk about predictive insights, looking for clues in advance of a crisis. I am joined by Roxanne the Wonder Dog, so if you hear a bark in the background, she's just putting her 2 cents in. We'd like you to connect with us in a variety of social ways. You can find us on Twitter at Firestorm Sol, on Facebook at Firestorm Solutions, on YouTube at Continuity Experts, and on LinkedIn at Firestorm Solutions. The hashtag for any time we have social engagement is Crisis Coach. If you have a question post-session and you'd like to ask it via social media so you can share with many people, using that hashtag will make sure that I see it or someone does see it. Also, during this session today, if you have a question or a comment, you can use the toolbar on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar console. There's like a little dashboard there. If you open that up, there's a chat area. You can ask a question, and our moderator today, VP of Operations Bill Baker for Firestorm, will make sure to let us know. Also, when you open up that little toolbar area, there is a section called Handouts. I've attached 2 handouts for you on predictive intelligence. One is a PDF explaining what predictive intelligence is about from Firestorm's point of view, and the other is an infographic that you can share or post in your offices. And if you'd like any other information in that regard, don't hesitate to contact us. You can always find us at firestorm.com. And you can always reach any of us on the session at webinars@firestorm.com. Our attorneys always want us to let you know that this exercise or webinar is not complete without the accompanying oral comments and discussion. Any work product provided by Firestorm should be read in conjunction with all guidance given by national, regional, and local authorities, as well as your organization's personal counsel. Moreover, the information given and comments made in this session should not be interpreted as legal advice or legal opinion. As you know, Firestorm transforms crisis into value, and we empower you to manage risk in crisis. We have deep expertise in crisis management, critical decision support, crisis communication, crisis public relations, and consequence management, and I'm going to introduce you to a couple of other areas today. We're very excited about the expansion of our crisis and risk teams. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit and introduce one of our favorite people from the University of Alabama Bama at Work program, and that would be Brenda Truelove. Brenda, would you like to tee us up today?
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for your time this morning. I know you have plenty of other things that you could be doing today, but it just seems so pertinent today that we had pre-planned this topic about our wonderful collaboration with the Firestorm staff on the Bertha program. Bertha stands for Behavior, and it's an online training program, and we are currently offering that for all Alabama K-12 schools, but it's also available nationwide to any other schools. And what Bertha does is it functions as part of your school's overall violence prevention program. Bertha has training that empowers the schools to be able to identify, assess, and manage and monitor students who may be exhibiting those behaviors of concern long before they pose a threat of violence. So the University of Alabama and Firestorm are offering a 1-year license to those in the state of Alabama for all K-12 schools. We have asked that they sign up for this by July the 1st. But again, we'd like to reiterate, if for those of you who are on the call outside of Alabama, the same opportunity for access through the license fee is available. You'll see on the screen the Bertha components, which this is a really good graphic that makes it very simple to understand. That Bertha's 4 components are comprised of, number 1, awareness. If we're not aware of what's going on, we won't be able to hopefully get a resource together to prevent any violence. The intelligence network, which is really Karen's specialty. Oh my goodness, the things that she is able to do, the skills that Firestorm has with anonymous reporting, monitoring actionable intelligence through social media, just all the things you see there is such a huge part of the Bertha program. And then number 3, which is the central repository, keeping up with the data as the student progresses through their years of schooling. It just shows the value of follow-up and, addressing issues when they're small, rather than waiting till they become a real serious threat to other people's lives. The Bertha process itself, which takes the teachers and the administrators through the process, is shown there on the screen, and it shows the tip reporting, the intake and initial risk categorization of the situation, whether or not it's something that needs following up on, and then the behavioral risk screening, which is a lot of valuable information that has been put together by a team of expert counsel, not just individuals who are interested in the subject, but individuals who are behavioral therapists, psychologists, people who worked in the field, FBI and CIA. It's taken the Firestorm staff 6 years to design this curriculum, and we've been working on putting it in an online training format here at the University of Alabama for the last year. The 3rd and 4th steps are the monitoring plan, the case management that takes place once a tip or report comes in, and then making sure that everyone is made aware of the situation, the sign-off and the record keeping, and keeping those documents in the central repository. You will see on the screen now a couple of caricatures of myself and Jim Satterfield, who's the president and CEO of Firestorm, and that's an example of the actual platform training, the e-learning platform that takes you through the different learning blocks. That shows the, if you'll back up one, Karen, that particular slide shows the framework of Bertha that starts from, yes, the school board, makes a resolution that says, hey, we want to adopt Bertha. And it takes you through each step of what needs to happen at the school superintendent level, and then the behavior management team, caricatures you see there. It shows everybody what their role is, which I think is one of the best parts about Bertha. It's so specific that shows exactly what the steps are, what to do. When you have a very complex problem, the best thing to do is to take it down to step-by-step increments, and that's really one of the best parts about Bertha. So we're really excited, and in today's challenging times, we're just trying to provide any resource we can to help to avert school violence. So you can go to our website. You can see it on the screen there, bertha.ua.edu. The website gives all the background information, as Mr. Satterfield's bio, and information about how to sign up. If you have questions, you can certainly call me or the 1-800 number that you see on the screen, which is directly to the Firestorm team there in Atlanta, Georgia. So thank you for this opportunity. We're happy to answer any questions, and I'm looking forward to Karen's presentation today because I always learn something valuable.
Oh, thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you to the university for being our partners in supporting this initiative. Folks on the call, the training is beautiful. It's exceptionally well crafted by the university, who are experts in creating educational programs that can be attended online by you and your team. And the key pieces here are that well, not key pieces, but important pieces are that central repository, One of the things we want to be able to do is to establish a fact pattern, because the challenges with behaviors of concern are that quite often they are observed but not reported, or the reports are not kept in a single location so that that fact pattern can emerge. And so you may have a school resource officer, or if you're applying this to your business, because we have Bertha for business, it's not just for schools, you can start to see a pattern of behavior that allows us and your team to understand specifically what the next steps are, so that we don't have someone come back and retaliate against an action or an activity. You know, one of the things that was very interesting to me about this most recent, very sad event in Parkland, I was having a conversation with Wendy Ruffcorn, who is one of the co-architects of the Behavioral Risk Threat Assessment Program. And she said she understood that they had been watching the student who was the shooter prior to his being expelled. But she wondered what kind of predictive intelligence they had in place after he left the school, after he was expelled. The same thing in our work environments. Once an employee is terminated for cause, technically that is when we should be most focused on looking at their behaviors, because quite often, coupled with other behaviors of persecution and anger, there is going to there may be on social media posts or messages about retaliation. And so that is one of the times when we really want to be focused. I have an article that's going to be in the Insurance Research Letter magazine this month, and we talk a little bit about that, how that is the critical time to really increase our oversight of a challenge in a situation. And having something in place that's formal, that your entire team can be trained to leverage, is a very smart idea so that you can keep people and property safer. But more important, we hear from so many people, it takes so much time. The reason it takes so much time is because you don't have a guidebook. You have a folder somewhere for emergency protocols that tells you what to do but not how to do it. So what we have created is something that not only says what to do, but exactly how to do it in a way that's efficient, humane, and designed to help your teams do the right thing in order to keep the terrible thing from happening. So I want you to consider that. And again, if you have any questions, please call us, contact us, drive to Atlanta and talk to us, or we'll drive to wherever you are and talk to you. We really want to see an end to having incidences of violence like this every week. I am Karen Masullo, and I am going to get a better picture. That's not a good picture. But we're going to talk about predictive analytics today. And we're going to do something a little bit different today, because I want you to have a little bit of a change in your normal expectation of a webinar. So we're going to try to have a little interaction today. And we're going to talk about predictive analytics, which is the use of data, statistical algorithms, and machine learning to identify the likelihood of future outcomes based upon past behavior, which is exactly what we're talking about with Bertha. And in the realm of predictive analytics, what we do is, in addition to the data source of your eyes and your observations, we're going to add another data point, which is social, traditional, non-traditional media. Anything that we can find that's publicly posted and aggregated on the web that helps us better come to critical decisions as we move along the process of understanding behavioral risk. Now, predictive analytics or predictive intelligence bubbled up or originated out of marketing. When people saw the very first social sites, which really LinkedIn is kind of the grandmother of all social networking sites, people said, wow, there's an amazing amount of data there to be mined. And then people really started mining big data in other places and realized that they could service up ads on Facebook because, you know, a couple of weeks ago I was looking for a leather ottoman, and my husband informed me yesterday that he's really tired of Amazon telling him they have leather ottomans on sale because it knows from this source that we were looking for that. So that's what predictive intelligence started to be used for, right? Marketers always grab it and figure out how we can sell something to you. Scientists invent it to further science. Marketers grab it. And we looked at that in 2012. Jim Satterfield and I were talking about, sadly, yet another case of violence in the workplace at that time. And he said, why can't we leverage this information to predict future behavior? Can we look at keyword groups? Can we look at key phrases? And can we look geo-wise? Do we know where people are when they're doing these things? And so Firestorm created its predictive intelligence program now, which is just labeled Intelligence Solutions. So when you registered for this session, we wanted to just get a high-level take on how you felt about the overall idea of it. And we said, whose responsibility is it to monitor all of this stuff? Not the visual observations of someone you work with or a student in your charge, but for your organization, for your school, for your business. The first thing I think you need to ask yourself is, do I have any clue who does it? If I saw something untoward on social media that affected or had something to do with people in my organization or my organization, would I have any clue who to go to ask for more data? So you have to know whose responsibility it is, or is it a shared responsibility? So 20% of you said, well, I'll probably go to marketing. It's probably marketing's responsibility. 20% of you said, now that's human resources. That's where that belongs. 10% said, I think security. And then 50% of you either said, I don't know, or someplace else. So that shows us that there is some confusion about who owns this sort of data. And I would pose to you that the entire organization does, because it affects every single data point in your organization. So the first thing we need is to come together as an organization, a school, a university, a business, and talk about how everyone needs to be trained in not only messaging out but listening in. The next thing is, how do you use that information? Well, about 30% of you said we are using these kinds of tools to identify potential threats, and that is terrific. That's really outstanding. Some of you said we're using it for both marketing and threat identification. Again, terrific. 10% said neither, and 40% said, I don't know. And I would pose to you that I don't know is a very honest answer, because we don't know, do we? We don't always know what's going on in other parts of our organizations. And organizations have the propensity to become siloed very quickly. So we really want to help break down those silos and share information across an organization. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how this year Firestorm has modified its services somewhat, so that you have a better feel for how, no matter what your issue may be, you can come and talk to us about it. Because you're on this webinar today, also underwritten by the University of Alabama, is something called Crisis Stop. When you're in the middle of a crisis, the first thing we want you to do is to stop. We want you to do exactly what Brenda said earlier, and that is take it step by step. But if you don't know what the first step is, I am telling you today that the first step is to stop. Give us a call. We're going to talk to you for an hour, and there is no fee. It is our Crisis Stop program underwritten by the University of Alabama, because we want to help you understand. We can help you with crisis and risk solutions. We are your crisis coach. We have people solutions, whether you have someone who's left your organization, left you in the lurch. We have now, through the acquisition of a fantastic group of people called BC Management, we now have a recruiting arm with one of the largest databases of business continuity, risk management, security management talent in the world, I would say. And not only do we have talent that you can recruit, but we can also do the recruiting for you. We also have analytical solutions, and that's benchmarking because we have this huge database, right? So 6 times a year, we have a report that will be coming out with incredibly valuable data. Right now, ongoing, if you look on our website under our blog or shoot me an email, I'll point you to a compensation benchmarking survey that is open now. It will be closing in March that you can participate in. And if you participate, you get a free copy of the report, which is terrific. And after that, we'll be right now we are compiling the data from one we had over December, and that is the big one. It's our event impact report. So again, there's some really critical data coming out of these areas for you. Our professional services solutions arm is, as it always has been, more robust, however. That's assessments, plans, training, and then security solutions. This is where Bertha lives. Bertha lives with our security assessments, our behavioral risk threat assessment program, our active shooter training and certification in that regard. And that is delivered by a second company we recently acquired that is headed by our Chief Security Officer, Jason Russell. And everyone on that team are former Secret Service agents, directors, and have directed the children's oversight programs for the Secret Service. They also, 3 of them were involved directly with protecting all living presidents. So you have a White House security level oversight for your schools and business organizations. And then coupled with security solutions are intelligence solutions, and that's predictive intelligence, what we're going to talk about today. And how I thought I would do this with you today is to walk you through a mini exercise. Many of you have been on our sessions in the past where we've done a virtual stress test over a 2-hour period. Well, I thought, let's go ahead and do one over about a 15 to 20-minute period, because in the real world, that's how a crisis happens. How a crisis happens is you are sitting at your desk and your phone rings. And you are thinking to yourself, oh, I have to get ready because I have to meet so-and-so for lunch. I have a meeting coming up at the top of the hour, and I need to make sure that I have my report ready for that meeting. Oh, I have to remember that one of my kids has a soccer game this afternoon. We have many things on our minds. We don't have time for a crisis, but a crisis is going to occur. And so we want you to know that we understand how they occur, and we're going to walk you through a quick exercise related to that. And through our predictive intelligence services, we're hoping we can alert you that a crisis may be bubbling up before that phone rings. It's not 100% all the time. It can't be, because the world doesn't work that way. So let's talk on a high level about what predictive intel is. Intelligence solutions that we've developed combine the best of class tools that we could find. As a matter of fact, one of our tools was named in Forrester 2017 Best of Class, and that is against some really heavyweight tools. And we combine our tools with seasoned practitioners. I think getting folks from the Secret Service who really understand not only how to do this, but are trained experts in listening broadly and focusing in on true threats. Identify what is being said in news, social, and traditional media, but only publicly posted. We won't look at privately posted information. We are aggregating what is out there in the public web. And we use very specific threat assessment criteria then to determine those specific threats to individuals, to others, to organizations. We then take those elevated threats and integrate those with existing security and crisis management protocols that we have in place. So your internal program will help develop that and work with you. We then do a risk profile creation. We implement threat assessments and then have escalation protocols related to those areas. And during a monitoring period, we just started onboarding a school yesterday that said, you know, I want to make sure things are protected. How do we go about doing that? Well, the first thing we do is we create a risk profile. We need to know what geography your business or your school lives in, because the threats or the language in one part of the country vary in another. The way people talk about drugs or either threats of violence in, let's say, New Jersey is different, possibly, in the language from how people speak colloquialisms and other syntax in Alabama or in California. In order then to move that risk profile along, we give context to words, phrases, and geography. You may not know that there is a song that consistently repeats that someone brought a gun to school or brought a gun to work, and people are repeating that verbiage. There may be something similar to your company's name or your school name that's a common meme out there in the universe of social media. We know that, and we can put that into context so we can understand the context in which a specific post or comment was made so that we can determine if it is a true threat. We then need to be able to create a workflow. If I see a threat that has to do with your business or your school, who is the first person I alert? Or one of our predictive intelligence team alerts? Who do we talk to? Who does that person talk to? Do different threats get routed to different people? Because we're going to be working in real time, we need to make sure that if you want a text message, you're going to look at that text message. If it is an email, that you're going to look at that email. So we create that level of workflow, and it's built into the tool. And then we sit back and observe and report. We observe and report, and we create a baseline. There's one school that we have worked with since 2012. We know everyone in that school. We know their graduating classes. We know where their kids have gone to school at the next step. We know their teachers, their leadership, because we've gotten to know them over the past 6 years. Observing a school for 1 month is powerful. Having a relationship with a business or a school organization over a period of 6 years is extremely powerful because we're really able to see anomalies more quickly. Firestorm was working for a business organization that was a significantly large real estate investment trust. And when we implemented their monitoring engagement, it wasn't just really one engagement, because on their property they had a hospital, multiple large parking garages, business offices, corporate business parks, and a mall. And the mall was one of the largest in their state. And we were able to observe every store, the hospital, all of the other properties. And on a weekly basis, issues would bubble up that we were able to alert them to. There was a fight club, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about fight club, but there was a fight club meeting in one of their garages. There were people who regularly went up to the rooftop and were doing a variety of illegal things on the rooftop that could put this real estate investment trust insurance in jeopardy. There was a children's area in the mall that unsavory persons would oftentimes go near. As a matter of fact, that children's area was very close, while you would want it to restrooms, but the restrooms were down a long hallway. And that was another part of our recommendations, was recognizing they were put there for convenience but could also pose a danger. So there was a variety of information that we kept finding out, and that's how this works. And after we've seen an event bubble up, we always sit down and do a hot wash so that we can understand what we can do better the next time. So today we're going to talk about a couple of tools, and I'm going to reference the tools individually after we get to a specific place in our little mini exercise. Again, we use a tool with an easy-to-see dashboard, and we can do this for you. We can bring you in with us and partner, and we can also use these applications not only to listen, but to message out. And then we have another tool that I'll show you how we would use it in a real situation that allows us to geo-fence and look very quickly at the images of a conversation or from a specific place so that we could clearly see, do I see a gun or a knife or a weapon in any of these images? No guarantee, but it's helpful. And in this situation, you can see where we did put a geofence right around the area, and these are all of the messages that are bubbling up out of that geofence. The reason why, they're also concentrated. Normally, if we were in an office building, there'd be some messages over in the east and in the north and in the west. The reason these are concentrated in one specific place is because this was for a school, and they were having challenges at their football games with rivalries getting out of control. And it was not so much the kids, it was actually adults who didn't go to the school who were taking advantage of these rivalries to create some pretty scary problems. So during those Friday night-like games, we would go ahead and geofence this and let them know if any threats or other images or nefarious activity bubbled up, and it just helped give them another layer of security for their situation. We can also do that if there are special events, parades, fairs, etc. So what I'd like you to do, for those of you who are sitting singly in your offices, get something to take some notes with, because you're going to want to put in place a couple of things after we go through this exercise if any of these scenarios raise a question mark for you. For those of you who are sitting in an office with others, with teammates, this is a great exercise. We'd love to do this for you over a 2 or 3 day period, but let's go ahead and see what we can do in about 12 minutes. So for this simple exercise, you're either a school or a business. Whoever you are, picture who you are. If you're a school, you are either a private school or a public school, and you're sitting at your desk and you have regular monitoring set up to assist you with marketing efforts. So if you did need to go look for something, you think you could find it on at least Twitter or Facebook. And you also have regular monitoring set up for threats. Now, if you don't have regular monitoring set up, you won't know any of this has occurred. You won't find out until much later when somebody calls you and says they're a problem. Now, I want you to consider, whether you're a business or a school, that suddenly you are alerted to the fact that there is a Me Too hashtag out there that includes your organization's name. And it says, Me Too, by a teacher, if you're a business, by a manager, at ABC Widget School or ABC Widget Company, and no one will help me. The key things that we see immediately from this, it is an anonymous account. It doesn't have a person's name. It says random girl. It doesn't have a real picture. I can't figure out who the person is from this. What I can figure out is there are 250 comments. That's what that little comment bubble is. It means there are comments going back and forth on Twitter about this. And it has been reshared 146 times. So in the brief moment that it was posted and I learned about it, which is in real time, all of this activity has gone on. And so we know it's only going to grow. And 112 people have favorited it, which is hard to say together. Suddenly, we see numerous posts bubbling up. using your organization's name in that Me Too. Somebody posts on Glassdoor, if you're a business, that there's something going on. They keep sharing it. And the account, again, is anonymous. So we don't know if there's someone out there who needs our help and we can't help them. So what do you do next? Right now on the call, it's happening right now at 10:45 in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. You see a post on social media that threatens your organization or is a cry for help from inside your organization. Who do you call? What next steps would you do about monitoring? Do you have any way of knowing how many people have seen this message and are resharing it? Are there other messages like it? Is there a Me Too, Me Too? Do you have any way of identifying who owns this account? By using our Insights tool, we're going to put out a broad net and gather all that information. We're not going to do what most people's first instinct is on something like this. When I ran through this exercise with someone who was not internal to the Firestorm organization, she said, well, I'd look up the Me Too hashtag, and then you would get 62 million results. You would actually have far too much data that you could ever make any sense of. So we have to think of other ways we would go ahead and craft the search that we would looking for. And we do that hopefully because we've already had monitoring set up in your organization. But otherwise we would implement keyword and key phrase analysis and would also let us know if there was any unusual activity on your account. So if suddenly you receive 1,000 mentions in a minute, where normally you only receive 60 mentions a week, we would be notified immediately. It's called a burst alert. And it would say, whoa, something's going on. You need to look at this right now. And then we have a great visual dashboard so that you can make better decisions based on information you see. When you're sitting down with your team and saying, what do we do next? Who do we alert? Who do we talk to? You need to be able to base that on real data about what is going on now, not what you think is going on, and not what you hope is going on. Neither of those are strategies. We also create an environment that you can come in and look at these stats without having to request some sort of a report. You have your own dashboard, so you don't need to slow time down. And then we have extensive sourcing that we set this up. So we're not just looking at Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. We're looking all over the web. We're looking at 4chan and 6chan and some of the darker places. We're custom crafting RSS feeds so that we can really dig in and find any information that could be related to you or your organization and threats to the people and property therein. Now let's take this a step farther. We've had 8 minutes pass since you first saw the message. The next thing that happens is if you're a school, a parent decides to post that Twitter message on their Facebook account because he's upset about something else that is going on at the school, and he starts railing about that other situation. But he opens the message to multiple eyes. If it's a work event, same thing. Former employee decides to take advantage of this opportunity. You have a part-time person, maybe a volunteer at your school who manages your social media. At work, you have a younger person because you think social media is for someone who's younger, not realizing that it really requires someone who's exceptionally mature in this area. Because what happens is those people are railing on your Facebook page now because of that person who shared it. And the person who manages and markets your message on social media does what they're trained to do. They engage. And the last thing you want to have happen is someone engaging with an angry crowd without any background or information. We don't have enough information yet to make that decision of how we're going to message. We don't have any crafted message because I know you haven't done message maps. We're going to do that next month. So the next thing that then happens is the person who engaged freaks out because the people she or he is engaging with on your Facebook page turn out to be very mean. They're anonymous, or they think they have anonymity because they are on the web and they lash out at that person. So that person does what we would expect them to do. They run away by closing down the Facebook page. They either do that or they engage even more strongly. And then we have a really explosive situation. In this case, we're going to have our person shut down the page completely. Nobody's allowed to comment, and that makes people even angrier. The parents of the school district or the employees in your organization or your customers and your vendors are saying, what the heck is going on over there? And you suddenly get phone calls off the hook. Your cell phone is ringing. Your office phone is ringing. Someone's coming in your office saying so-and-so is trying to reach you because you're getting panic phone calls from that part-time employee who's freaked out. HR is on the phone trying to figure out what the heck is going on. You've got parents, if you're a business, you've got customers saying, we demand answers. What's going on? Are you sexually harassing someone? Is there a pedophile in the school? And suddenly you're in a situation where you don't get to decide what to do because events are forcing you to make rapid decisions, and you have no time. What has happened is you've lost control. Do you have a team right now trained and ready to call you in? Jim Satterfield has an all-hands-on-deck call. If any of us get a message or a text message or any communication from Jim that says all hands on deck, we stop what we're doing and we call into a conference number. We know what we're supposed to do. We're trained to do it. Do you have that response team? It might just be one other person. It might be us. But you need to somehow have a resource so that you can analyze the situation and take the correct next step. We also still have a victim out there. We're not sure if this is real or not right now. It could be a competitor trying to hurt us. We don't know. We have no facts. But how can we find that information out? A couple of years ago, we saw someone was bringing a gun to school from an anonymous account. We were able to quickly use something through this tool that was called a social graph. It put aside all of the accounts that this person was following that were basketball stars or entertainment stars or a Kardashian, and it gave us only the real people, people who actually might have been an actual human being. And it turned out that most of the people that might be actual human beings all lived within a 3-mile radius of each other. And right in the middle of the radius was a school. So we assumed that might be the school, and we called them. And that person said, I know exactly who you're talking about. And later on that morning, that person who made the threat posted that they had been arrested. And, or not arrested, that they had been detained, that their clip was found in their locker, and then later on, there was an arrest. And yes, they shared all of that on social media. So through this tool, we can go ahead and we can help you identify very quickly what's next and who's next. And then, folks, what happens if a specific person is named in a post and they're not even, they have nothing to do with it? Maybe someone has a vendetta against that person. Somebody else says there are images floating around. How do you know if that's true? Parents or customers are demanding answers. You've got parents saying they're going to go to that teacher's home who we don't even know had anything to do with anything. And one person in particular is copying not only local but national media on everything. As a matter of fact, you have someone in your HR department who decides they're going to nip this in the bud. And they send out a company-wide memo that says anybody who talks about anything that has to do with this is going to be terminated immediately or is going to be reprimanded. Well, you can't do that. And guess what happened? That communication is going to be shared. It's going to be shared with all of the major news outlets. It's going to be posted on somebody's blog. It's going to be on Facebook and Twitter. And you receive a call from a local news station saying, hey, can you comment because we're going to air this story at 6 o'clock whether you do or not. How you feeling about that? You going to talk to them? Have you been trained to talk to them? This was a really fast exercise. It was meant to be fast because that's how a crisis unfolds. When you're in the middle of a crisis, information is generally wrong. Data on which to make decisions is not available. You don't have any policies in place. Command and control is lost. Your brand and reputation are under attack. Your leadership may get involved personally and be personally under attack, including you. The impacts become disproportionate to the event, and the events are escalating out of control. And suddenly, speed in your ability to make a decision becomes quality or your very survival. And you become the center of media focus. The intelligence network you have set up and your crisis communications and crisis message mapping are going to become critical to the decisions you make. I want you to think about this exercise. I want you to go through it with your own teams if you haven't. I want you to just take a lunch. We're talking about 20 minutes and escalate an issue quickly so that you can start identifying where your gaps are. Next month, we're going to talk about this situation and now how are we going to communicate about it when we start to gather information. How are we going to know if we're in a guarded phase, an elevated phase, imminent, or severe, where our brand, our reputation, our school, our business, our organizations are at risk and at stake? We want to help you make sure you have teams, and again, your team might be 2 people in place that can respond, document, and train on next action steps and be able to implement immediately so that you can be nimble and help save lives and the people in your charge. We want you to have the right tools. So what's next? You have that paper right in your console that you can download to predictiveintelligence.pdf. Contact Firestorm at any time. Implement your crisis stop. You can email us at webinars@firestorm.com. Register for next month's session. It's an important one. We're actually going to dig through the communications. And sign up for our weekly newsletter, please. Disaster Due Diligence. It's in resources on our website because you'll be getting notifications of other documents, support articles, and special events that may come up that can help you in your own organization. This is one of the documents that you can download today. And again, as always, I would like to thank Brenda Truelove and the University of Alabama. Brenda, I went a couple minutes over, but do you have anything you'd like to say to our group today?
Just want to again express our appreciation to everyone for your time. I think it was time well spent for me, and appreciate all that Firestorm does for us. And if you have any questions about our Bertha program, please give us a call. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Brenda. As always, thank you, Bill Baker, and we look forward to working with all of you in the coming year. Again, this is Firestorm in the University of Alabama for Predictive Intelligence, and this will end our session for today. Thank you, and have a great day.